G'day and welcome to Reliability Hero, where we talk with maintenance and reliability people. Few things excite them more than making machines and equipment do more than they were ever designed to do. Faster, safer, longer, and more reliably. Whether you take minerals out of the ground, keep power plants running, or fix and maintain rail networks, aeroplanes, conveyor belts, or turbines, we acknowledge you for keeping economies moving. I'm Andrew Daddo, and this podcast is brought to you by the mainstream community. I'm talking to Shereya Parashar. She is the reliability SME, or the subject matter expert for digital transformation with Woodside Energy, but it hasn't always been that way. She was a mechanical engineer first. Shereya, welcome. How did you go from a mechanical engineer to a digital expert?
Yeah, really good question. It's an interesting journey. So I started off as a mechanical engineer working on site, and after 2 years my boss called me up and said, well, you're moving into reliability. At that time I did not know what reliability was at all.
Right.
But it was one of the best things that ever happened. My interest in that area developed organically over the last 6 years, and I use reliability in my day-to-day life. I use it at home, and that probably annoys my husband a lot, but yeah, I use the principles at home.
So how did you get picked as a mechanical engineer? When as a mechanical engineer, what were you actually doing? What was your day-to-day?
Yeah, so I worked on site, so I was looking after all the equipment. So my job was to make sure that all the mechanical equipment was functioning, and safe.
Okay, and then, so did you have a certain aptitude to do, like, oh my God, look at her, she's brilliant. This girl's a genius. She's doing such great work. We must be able to utilise her somewhere else. So how did you get picked to then go into the digital world? Because I'm guessing in a practical sense, you're obviously very good at what you were doing.
Yeah, so after being in reliability, we do a lot of stuff with data. So to be able to draw insights from data, we really need to harness digital tools. So that's where I got pulled in. So I got pulled into the digital space to utilize my knowledge as my expertise and my understanding of fundamentals, and have a look at how can we do this with data and effectively and efficiently. So how can we make tools that really are underpinned by reliability principles.
Okay, so then you then go on to make digital products to understand how things work. So how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so to develop digital products in an organisation, or even to utilise digital products, I like to distill it into 3 key areas. The very first one, and I think a lot of things should start with this, is the why. Why are we developing a digital product? And it's that problem statement. So that can come from different levels. So at an organizational level, like your leaders can see a problem to be, we need to cut costs, let's say,
Okay.
But
that'd be pretty common, wouldn't it?
Very common across the board. We need to be more efficient. But as you kind of trickle down and you have a look at the teams and the people, the blue collar, like the people that work on the fields, like they're also facing issues relating to costs, but they see it a little bit differently. So the first thing is, understand your why. So what's the global reason? But then I guess locally, like what are the reasons that other people are facing? Like if we need to cut costs, like how this going to impact all our workforce when we do that? So start with the why. And then secondly, you really need to understand the value of a digital product. There's a lot of, talk now. Let's get digital products. Let's do AI. Let's do all of that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of value in actually understanding the value and communicating it. So being able to tell that story of why are we doing this, and if you can quantify it, numbers speak for themselves.
Okay. AI is really interesting. I mean, there's probably less AI at this conference certainly than there was last year or the year before. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely not going away, but the focus has probably shifted off it at this specific moment in time. Are you I'm not sure where I said, are you positive on AI or nervous, or are you cautious?
Yeah, probably a mix of emotions. Like, it's exciting. It's a bit nerve-wracking as well. But I'm mostly on the, like, let's see what this can do. But my biggest but always is that before we can even use any of these advanced technologies, all these things that sound sexy, we really need to know the fundamentals. And a lot of businesses might be wanting to jump on that, but I always say that we should make sure that our fundamentals work. Can we use just basic principles of reliability to look after our equipment before we jump into AI?
Yeah, because you can't. Well, I mean, I suspect that a good set of eyeballs and hands on something should theoretically be as good as anything else.
Yeah, I think that's so necessary, because that's where we get our data.
Yeah.
So the people that do the work and do it well and then record that data for us well,
Okay.
that's where we can then start actually using fancy things like AI.
Before we get to the third part of it, do you have a better understanding now of what you were doing as a mechanical engineer after being in the digital space? So you can sort of look back and go, oh, now I get it. Oh, that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think as a reliability engineer, you actually work with every discipline. So it's not just mechanical that I know now.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of knowing what electrical engineers do, what instrumentation, and like how all these different engineering people, and also operations and maintenance, so kind of the whole spectrum, how they all fit together and how they all work together. So yeah, it gives you a really big appreciation for all the different stakeholders in an organization.
Okay, so you got your why. You got to work out the value of the digital. And
Yep.
what's the third part?
You need the right people.
Yeah.
You need the right tools, and you need the right processes to develop that. When it comes to processes, there's, you can research how to do product development, not a problem. There's a lot of tools that are available, but I guess the sticky part comes with the people.
Okay. When you say the sticky part,
Yep.
do you mean the good part or the
challenging part? That's the tricky part.
Okay. And also you say there's lots of tools available. What's that process of selecting the right tool for the right job?
Yeah, I think it starts back again, like, why are you doing it? What do you actually want? So that question is like, what does your tool need to do for you? And yeah, there is a sweep of different tools and technologies. But I always say, like, stick to the simple stuff. Like, just use Power BI. Maybe you don't need anything fancy. Like, start from the basics.
Yeah.
And then work our ways up.
Okay. So the sticky part, the people, is that having them adopt technology, or is it having them understand technology, or not rally against it? How does that work?
Yeah, it's actually all of those. So the people part I find the most interesting. You can't just read a textbook and know what to do, whereas you can read about reliability engineering. So the people part is all about how do we get those people to use the products that you make. So you must hear all the time that, garbage in, garbage out. But if I add to that and say, look, yes, if you don't have the right data, you're not going to get very good insights. But then if you don't have the right people using it, no one's going to use your product, and it's just going to die anyway. So there's a big part of getting people to be able to utilize your tool.
Okay, so how do you do that?
How do we do that? In really simple, I'll break it down into three again. I think
Okay.
3 rules of 3. You've got to take the people on the journey.
Right.
So these people,
From the beginning?
From the beginning. They need to know why. They need to be connected to why you're doing it. You don't want to impose, hey, you're going to do it like this now.
Yeah.
That never works for anyone. And change is hard.
Okay, do you get pushback from the beginning? So when you go, we implement, look, I've just spent a year and a half in making a new system. So when you go in and say, yo, bros, we're going to change, got some right, is it an instant pushback to change?
I think there definitely is. That's just how humans work. There's a nice matrix that shows this. Like, when we get imposed on something, we're always hesitant initially. So what we learned is, let's take those stakeholders on the journey with us. So even before we make a product, they need to be part of the design.
Okay.
We need them to actually have a say. And that's how, like, stakeholders get really involved and invested. And they want, like, the product to work. So get your stakeholders involved on the journey is the first step.
Okay, step 1. Step 2?
Yep. Step 2, we need to make that product really easy to use. So how many times have you downloaded an app and looked at it and then just said, I'm not going to even bother because it looks a bit complicated.
Yeah.
And there's so many more.
Instant delete.
Instant delete, right? And you know that you can just go and
30
get
seconds
something
in,
else.
instant delete.
I do it all the time.
Great.
So how do we get our people to want to use that tool, right? So we need to make it as easy as possible. It needs to be really intuitive. So there's a lot of work that goes into just designing it, like the UI, the UX, like the interface. So that's actually a whole different segment, really. Like we've got experts that can do that, but it's the basic things. Like,
and does that? So the experts work on that. Does that come to you? Are you the first sort of cog in the chain to make sure that they're working correctly?
Yeah, like we can hire people that actually do developing, like they're like developers, UX designers, but even just basic things, like when you open up Microsoft Word, it's quite intuitive. So it's, bringing those type of features that you see on a daily, like when you open up your iPhone, it's just so quick. So it's like you can bring a lot of the things that you see into your product development to make it easy to use.
So bring the people on the journey.
Yep.
Make it easy to use.
Yep.
And
the final step.
Yes.
The final step is to train those people and also embed it into processes. And also make sure that, you keep updating that tool. So training them shouldn't be too hard. They should be pretty familiar because you've taken them on the journey. Updating processes also, like if you've got a tool.
Hang on, so go back. Training shouldn't be so hard.
It shouldn't be too hard because the people that been involved, they know what your tool is about.
Okay.
So it'll be more about like how do you click this and then it does this, more of that.
And hopefully some of them are going, I thought of this. This is my idea.
Yeah, this was mine.
Barry, look at this. I did that. Yeah, right.
And they get really excited about it because they have ownership of that product now. And then the second part is the integration. So you want to make sure you integrate that tool into some process. If it just sits by itself, no one knows about it, perhaps, and then no one really uses it. So you need to integrate it into something that you're already doing.
Okay.
Yep.
What's the it's actually a silly question, but do you have a lifespan intended for the digital tools that you create? You sort of go, this is only going to, because it's all changing so quickly.
So quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's the next big challenge and the last part of that third step. You really have to invest in keeping that product relevant. And that's where a lot of things fail. You could have seamless integration. People are using it. But as soon as the data starts to look a bit funky, things stop working, people are just going to move on to the next thing. And they're going to start saying, like, it doesn't work anymore. Like, I'm not using it. And as soon as you hear that, it's like a rumor. It spreads fast. People from the end of the corridor are like, yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So it's so important to have the right people that actually maintain it. So it's almost like it's like an equipment. You got to maintain it. So if something comes up, you need the right people to look at it and fix it. You need to actually improve it as well. If you want to stay competitive and you want all the new technologies and everything is just changing fast, so do our tools.
Okay. Do you look at the changing world and it's changing faster now than it's ever changed, and it's coming at us and it's going to get us, and are you excited, or do you have some apprehension?
It mostly excites me. Yeah, I think it's cool. I think there's so much we can do, so that's what's exciting. Like I think we can build so many more clever things and we can do our work more efficiently. So that's what's exciting. Okay.
Do you have a dream of a and I ask you this in the context of talking to one of the guys from BHP, and he said he has dreams, right? So he says, and he goes, you've got to have a dream. I'm like, mate, dreams.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, there's a dream, and then you start applying small parts of the dream to make those small parts reality, and eventually the dream becomes true. So do you for yourself, you're 6 years into the digital role, you're quite young. Do you have a dream of how you see things becoming or working?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The first thing that popped into my head for me would be, I would love if we could build, a tool or tools, or the ones that we already have, to look after equipment really effectively and sustainably. So, we're reducing costs, we're reducing emissions, we're keeping our people safe. If only we could do that across the board, across all industries. And I think eventually we will get there.
Right. So when you say, wouldn't it be good if we could, do you have any inkling of how it might be achieved? Like, and it's sort of thing where, you might say to someone, oh, I've got this idea. They don't mean idiot. What are you talking? But but do you have it, like, secretly in the back of your brain, do you have something going on back there going, hang on, there's a chance here if this worked and this, or not?
I think it starts with like a fundamental, like we really have to understand and appreciate what our reliability and asset engineers do and why they do it. And if we can really understand that, then I think we can reach that stage where we can look after our equipment really well.
Yeah. But what about but do you have the vision? Like, do you have a secret vision is what I'm asking?
Do I have a secret vision?
Not really, no.
Not really.
Okay, right.
No.
Okay. So you're busy in the day-to-day, get it done.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
But maybe I should think about it.
Well, but I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? So, like you're at the pointy end of change.
Yeah.
Be interesting to, I'm just wondering, thinking maybe you have an idea of what change will be next or could work.
Maybe for next time.
Maybe for next time. All right. Listen, great to chat. Shereya Parashar, the reliability SME for digital transformation at Woodside Energy. Thanks very much. Real pleasure to chat.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to Reliability Hero. Keep the world running, and we'll catch you next time. This podcast was brought to you by the mainstream community.